think if you attach any of your goals to a mission that means something to you, you will naturally grow. With the event space, it's very difficult. It's very competitive. It's also grounded with people, which makes it more complicated. But I love what I do, basically because I feel like I can bring value to that and I can innovate. And I think I've stood out in my career as somebody that's always looking at trying to make things better, trying to provide more of a platform for better communication and better connections. So.
Okay, so Lilly, welcome to another episode of the UnbrandMe Podcast. Today, our special guest is Lilly Pavlou, who's the Executive Director of Qube Events. Lilly and I have been knowing each other now for about a year and a half when we first met up in Nicosia, and we were asking you questions on how to expand Brandwagon in Cyprus, and you came up with so many great ideas, and you also invited us and invited me to deliver a keynote at one of your amazing events. Since then, I think we've struck a great friendship, and I've got to see a bit more of Lilly behind the scenes, and I think it's great today to have you on this podcast, because I think you've got so great thinking, great ideas, a lot of experience, a lot of great stories to share with our guests. So thank you for coming here today.
Thank you, Peter. That's so nice. I really love that. And it's my pleasure. And I echo that. It's been so wonderful to meet you and to get to know you as well. And I sit in your presentations now and I'm feeling so grateful to have you there. So thank you. And thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Great. Okay, so let's kick off. Tough question for the starter, as you know. Lilly, if you were to introduce yourself to me without mentioning your occupation, where you're from, where you grew up, what your hobbies and passions are, what your religion is, and without all the superficial markers that we use in our day-to-day lives, how would you describe yourself to me?
Wow, I think, yes, why do you start with such a tough question, Peter? Listen, I think I would describe myself as a friend. And a friend in business, a friend in life. And I think that this is, the foundation of where I like to start, and that's about creating that space for people to feel comfortable and feel connected. And I feel that it's important to me to create that feeling and to create that kind of atmosphere. And I feel like a friend, and I feel like I'm amongst friends. So that's how I would describe myself. Titles and all of that stuff is aside. I really aspire to be a friend.
I think that's really, really nice. And I can definitely vouch for that, because I think you're one of the only people I've met who works in conferences and events, who's running the show. And though you're at the back making sure that everything is working, you're really genuinely ready to help out with everyone. And you're actually deeply interested in how everything is doing and how everyone is feeling, which I think is really unique. So kudos for that.
Thank you. Yes, I think it's about being conscious, and it's something that I genuinely love. So I think it comes quite naturally.
It looks like it does. So kudos for that.
Yeah, it is. It's natural. It's many years of being in the space as well. So I think that, it's all about coming together and, making sure that people are in a comfortable place and are supported at the end of the day.
Amazing. Okay, so let's go way, way back.
Wow.
You were born in Pretoria in South Africa to Cypriot parents.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that shaped you?
Yes, I think one thing I really appreciate about being brought up in South Africa is the multicultural aspect, which I think at the time, I've said this before, at the time we didn't realize it, but we really have in South Africa very diverse cultural backgrounds. So you get raised with all different cultures from all around the world. And being raised to Cypriot parents where English was not their first language, and that I think at the time when you're young, you don't actually realize the impact it makes on you, Mm-hmm. But as you grow up and you appreciate the skills that's given you, so you have to communicate clearer, you have to, also communicate, understand different cultures, So I think this has armed me with the ability to have a good understanding of different cultures and how to communicate to different cultures. And I think growing up in Pretoria, I'm very grateful, even though South Africa is such a big country, it's a very community city. So, we grow up going to my nursery school was across the road from my primary school, which was across the road from my high school, which was across the road from my university. So, and those groups of friends and people have grown along the way, but they're still my closest friends to this day, you know.
Oh, wow.
Plus all the friends I've obviously been very fortunate to have in my life right now. But that kind of community has really shaped who I am. And having that solid background of solid friendships growing up, I think that's definitely made an impact in who I am.
I'm sure it gives you that level of confidence and comfort that you always know somebody's got your back.
Yeah. And just familiarity. It's nice to know that people know you, and it's safe. It's a nice thing to have.
Yeah,
you know?
good place to be brought up in, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then in your 20s, with a master's in finance,
Yeah.
you decide to head back
Thanks
to
for doing the
Cyprus.
research,
Yeah,
Peter.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
It was fun. I really enjoyed doing the research, actually.
Thank you.
So you're in your 20s, you got a master's in finance, you decide to head back to the original home of your parents in Cyprus, and you pick a job in market research working for one of the ex-presidents of Cyprus. I mean...
Yeah. It wasn't exactly like that, in the sense that I needed to get a job because I ran out of holiday money.
Now the truth's coming out. Okay.
Yeah, so no, I did actually, I did have market research, I think, as one of the subjects. I kind of felt I could have contributed to that, but I think I was like 23, 24 at the time. And and this company was owned by the ex-president at the time, which was amazing. I mean, and I've said it before, he was a natural networker, great marketeer, and I think it's really important when you're young to have these influences, because you don't actually realize how they shape you, you know, and again, that gives confidence when you see somebody that is iconic for you, and they're so personable, and they're so connected to their teams from, you know, across the board, across the hierarchy, you're treated the same. And I think that was a really nice example to get in my early formative years, let's say. So I've appreciated that, yeah.
So if you go back to Lilly in her 20s, compared to where you are today and all the stuff that you've achieved, which is absolutely amazing. We're going to get into a bit more details later. What would you have told 20-year-old Lilly today?
I would have told Lilly to keep moving forward and don't let anything hold you back. Because I think sometimes when you're trying to grow in this corporate culture, you're trying to figure out things, whether it's politics, whether it's like skill sets, and you get given roles that you have to build yourself or shape yourself into. And I think all of that, and that's why it's actually nice you started that way, this podcast, because it's not important of like the title. The important is who do you want to be? And I'd say this a lot to my team. It's like, who do you want to be in your life? Not just in your career, because what you do and how you perform, or how the skill sets that you pick up, or how you interact with people, is shaping you to be who you are, you know? So, did I answer the question?
You did answer the question, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
so I think that's what I think is valuable.
And then you decided to get into marketing, because why not, of course? I mean, throw away the master's in finance and get into marketing.
I always wanted to do marketing in uni, and then...
How come you didn't?
I don't really know. I think we have this bias, like, oh, you know, just do the finance and then you can figure it out. Like, I think that was actually what's nice nowadays, as I see that there's a lot of transition from when you're moving from high school to university. There's a lot more like interaction with the schools, and they're coaching into like, what is your career, what is your personality? And we didn't have it back then when I was in school, you know. So I did like the finance space. I'm glad I did a degree in that. But I wanted to add, and it wasn't possible to add it into your modules at the university I was at. So I did plan when I was finishing my studies to look into that. And then I thought, yeah, what better way than to just get a job in marketing and see how I do. So that's how that journey went. So,
but as circumstances had it wasn't easy getting that job, right?
No.
There's a story behind how you got that job.
Yeah, there is a story.
You told us that story when we were up in Nicosia, Martin and I, and you.
Yes.
Tell us that story again, because it's a great story.
It was funny because I really wanted this job in this marketing company, in this events company, actually. And I had asked my cousin's girlfriend, who was working at the time. She was in marketing, and I had given her my CV, and she was like, "No, you're not a good fit." Blah blah blah. And I was quite upset about it. And I thought, how do I get into this company? You know, this multinational, very exciting for someone in, 23, 24 to like, and they were based in Cyprus, international, so I thought,
They're one of the largest conference
one of
organizers in the
the
world
top
still.
5 in the world. So I was like, how do I get into it? And then, funnily enough, my younger brother at the time, he was running a tennis academy. And I was complaining about it. And he's like, I coached the CEO. And she was from New York. She was from the US, like running the office here in Cyprus. And he said, she's going to be at the courts. Why don't you come past and introduce yourself? So I did. So one of the days that she was down at the courts training, I went to introduce myself, and she's like, let's have a meeting. And there was a pub nearby, and she's like, let's meet at that pub, and let's talk about you, and let's hear why you want to get into event space, marketing, etc. And we went through 3 months of interviews. So
3 months of interviews.
3 months of interviews. Okay, she was also traveling up and down, but still, it was quite intense, and I really appreciated it because at the time, like, geez, this is more than 20 years ago. At the time, events marketing was not where it was today. And I think she had probably a bit of vision around how it should be or how it should get to. So I appreciated that she gave me that chance. She gave me that foot in the door. And she gave me like a very, very junior role. It's like a marketing junior assistant. The role didn't even exist, actually, but she created it. So I was really grateful to get the foot in the door, and then the rest is history. Geez, that must be 23, 24 years ago now, so that's crazy.
You spent a significant amount of time working in that company,
yes,
right?
I did.
It did make you who you are to a certain extent, and showed you so many experiences. You traveled a lot with that job, yeah?
Absolutely. So it started off as being a European-based role, and then we had at some stage to expand into Australia and basically the APAC region, and then we also started assisting in the US. So it became a global role actually by the time I left, and being young and I think what's amazing about the culture of that company is that it was really young people that were leading these global initiatives, global events. And global events back then, I think, were really kicking off, and there was a lot of growth in the space. And today it's like $1 billion business. It's massive. The events business now, it's such a big space to be in. And so having that opportunity to be so young and to have the opportunity to grow, lead teams, go into new cultures, countries, it's such a fantastic, especially if you love that kind of space, it's such a fantastic opportunity. I
was going to ask you about that because the event space is a very tough space to be in. It's really all in. And there's a lot of pressure. It's very much about deadlines, very much about time. It's a lot of anxiety-inducing moments in the event space. So you either have to really love it or you burn out and leave. But you clearly double down on your love for it because then not only did you stay there, you also built your own business. But what is it that you love about the event space?
Yeah, I think being that, I was going to say catalyst for communication, but it's more about like, what I love about it is the community that gets built through that. And I think if you attach any of your goals to a mission that means something to you, you will naturally grow. And I think with the event space, it's very difficult. It's very competitive. It's also grounded with people, which makes it more complicated. But I loved what I do because I love what I do, and it's basically because I feel like I can bring value to that and I can innovate. And I think I've stood out in my career as somebody that's always looking at trying to make things better, trying to provide more of a platform for better communication and better connections. So I think if you attach a purpose that is important to you in what you've chosen to do in your life, I think you just bypass the challenges because, you believe in what you're doing. So you have a clear beacon of, direction, let's say, clear goals as well. So, yeah.
Amazing. What's the best advice that anyone has ever given to you in the event space? Maybe even when you were still, young and growing up in that space, like in your early days. Is there anyone who gave you some really good advice?
Nothing is personal.
Nothing is personal.
And I said, I believe the opposite. Everything is personal, But I think I kind of float between the two, when I need the one or when I need the other. I think, yes, I think it is good advice. Nothing is personal. But I take everything personally, because I think that that's where you can really assess what you're doing and make sure that you're aligned, So I guess, don't internalize feedback, but use feedback to drive you forward.
Okay, so don't take it personally, but take it personally enough that you grow with that.
Exactly.
That's really good advice.
Yeah.
So at some point throughout your journey in this organization, you say that rather than you hit the ceiling hit you. And that was a fantastic quote. What was the driving story that made you decide to go off on your own and set up on your own?
Oh, Peter, that's such a story. So yes, so the ceiling hit me. Okay, so what did I mean by that? So specifically in that context, we were talking about growth. And it was growth in a company that I really loved and was really having a successful career. And one of the challenges that I faced was a political landscape, which I touched on. And basically, I think it's real to most cases in companies, and how you navigate the political landscape is really important. So what I meant by that, saying that the ceiling hit me, was that I had come to a crossroad where I had to make certain decisions about my career in that specific company. And, sometimes the decisions are black and white, meaning it's either this or that. And even though I'd realized my time at that company had come to an end, and that was not what I wanted. That was not at all what I wanted. So that's why I said the ceiling hit me, because the growth under that leadership was going to take me that far. And that was a really, really difficult time, because you feel like this is a career that I love. I'm so good at it. I have teams around the world that support me. I have colleagues around the world that support me. I have clients around the world that support me. But that journey under that leadership was going to take me up to there. So that's why I say it's a glass ceiling, because you can see the opportunity, you can see the potential. You want to be part of that bigger picture, and you're just not given that choice, Yes, it's sad now that I put it in that context, but yes, it was sad. And then I thought, okay, what does that mean? So, and I've spoken about this loss of identity, because we grow our journeys and we grow in our formative years into these people, and we identify ourselves with those companies, so much so that it becomes like a double barrel to your name. It's like, I'm Lilly, I'm from this company. So, for me on that journey, I felt when I'd hit that ceiling, it was a loss of identity. So I thought, wow, and especially if you're value driven and you want to bring value to the market, I really struggled with that, because I thought, what am I? Who am I now? Who's Lilly? What does she have for the market? What does she have for the workplace? Sounds a bit dramatic now, but when you're just thrown out like that, literally, you're kind of like, wow, how do I find my bearings? So what I did was I moved into a space I hadn't been in, which was the finance space. And there I got some critical skills, which I'm very grateful for. So the journey was really interesting there, because I'd gone into the space and I had gone into like a sales role. And it was nice to see how, from taking a marketing role and leading international teams to actually being responsible for getting down to black and white. What are the numbers? What are your targets, etc. So that was really critical skills set time for me. And I think it's very important to have that kind of sales experience as well. I think that just enhanced my ability to communicate, actually, because when you communicate generally in marketing and you communicate in sales, bringing those two conversations together is interesting. And in organizations, it is as well. Sales versus marketing, marketing versus sales, whole conversations around how do those two departments communicate in a way that takes companies forward. So I think I was really grateful to go into that space. And then at some stage, I was sitting with one of my best friends who's in the event space, and I said, I'm really missing the conference world. I really want to get into that somehow. And I'm really grateful that I have, like I say, really strong support system. And they were like, Lily, if you want to do it, there's no one that we think that could do it for, no one that we think could do it better than you. And just that belief from some trusted person at that point in time, I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to set up this company. I'm going to set up Qube. And that was the start of the Qube journey, and I don't know how far you want me to go into that story, but yes, it was definitely a journey, one of very, coming to that decision, and an interesting story. And again, like as fate would have it, I like to say that I had a team member that was working in my research team, that was leading the research team, and my number two, I would say. And when I was discussing this, setting up this events company with my friend, I said, I would definitely do it if I had him with me. And I hadn't spoken to him for a while, and I was getting to the office one day, like shortly after this conversation, and the phone rang, and it was him. And he was like, hey, Lily, how are you? What's up? What are you doing? Like, let's meet. And I was like, okay, it was a sign.
For sure.
So when I talked to him, he's like, yes, and I want to be a business partner. I want to join you on this venture. So yeah, we started this together. So that was pretty awesome. Almost 10 years ago. So That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Your first event, how did that feel?
Oh, awesome. That was in Malta.
Yes.
2017. So the first event we launched, yes.
Why Malta?
Yeah, because I loved it. I'll tell you why Malta. So a few years before, it was 2015, a friend of mine was running an events company that was focused on oil and gas events. And he said to me, I'm running an event in Malta. Why don't you come in and check it out, see the vibe, whatever. And I thought, great, I'll come. And I just came, and it was at one really nice hotel. And I just loved Malta. I thought, wow, if I get a chance to have this events company and build this events company, I want to do an event here. And as soon as we'd set it up 2 years later, I said to my partner, I said to him, listen, we're going to go to Malta for this. And he's like, why? I said, just this is where I think it will be great to kick off this company. And we did. So 2017, first event of Qube was in Malta.
Fantastic.
Awesome, yeah.
What an interesting story. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I know your last event just before COVID started was here. I think you were the very last event.
Yes. It was so funny. Jeez.
That must have been quite an interesting one. Are you getting notifications to let people know that they were coming to the events at their own risk?
How odd was that? So yes, we were busy. It was February, I think 28th of February, 2020. And as we were about to kick off the event in Malta, we got the hotel came with like government officials, and they were like, if you're going to do an event, because they're enforcing restrictions soon, so you need to inform people that they're attending this event at their own risk.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was just about to go on the stage, to open the event, and I was like, they're like, you have to inform people, you have to, give out circulars, and it's just so foreign. But you know what I think is so interesting about us human beings is that you can be delivered something that is shocking, and within moments, you've already found a way to process that and deliver it, And I think this is the resilience of the human kind, or how would you say it in a better way? But I found that, I got up on the stage and I was saying the words. I didn't really understand the depth of what was going to be happening.
Nobody did.
I delivered, nobody did, but I delivered that. And I thought, wow, that is so shocking. And in retrospect, it's even more shocking because of what followed, right? We got up, and before you know it, it's like, we were actually chatting last night. I was with some Maltese associates and friends, and we were talking about that time and how challenging it was, and amazing that we all got through that.
But you doubled down on that, even though everywhere else in the world, all events were breaking up, and events companies were thinking that this is the end. You went on to digital events straight away.
Straight away, within weeks. I think what again there, we had already looked at webinars briefly, and we'd already had a platform that we could use. So I just realized somehow that this might be here to stay, and so we ran our first webinar like weeks after the Malta event, and it was so exciting because it got more and more exciting as disconnected as we started feeling. The webinars started being a medium by which we could feel connected within the industry space, you know. So, and it was a great time for Qube in the sense that we were able to connect more internationally, actually. So we were running events in, say, Malta, Brussels, Cyprus at the time. But all of a sudden, with the webinars, we were like, we could have somebody in Australia, Japan even, China, wherever, watching the event or being part of this community. So we used the time to grow our data, our network, our brand as well, you know. So it worked out to be a good time for Qube. And I think, again, like just, you know, moving forward and quickly the pace of how, and being in a smaller company, that ability to make a decision and action it immediately is an advantage. But it was a difficult time in the sense that, you know, there was a lot of uncertainty and you were hearing all these horror stories in the space, you know, and I think I really appreciated the fact that, you know, I had a team that was supportive as well. We got onto that. We had a community that was supportive and we grew the Qube community at that point in time. So
that's such a great story. Kudos to you, because it's obviously a testament to your fighting spirit, your leadership spirit.
Nice things to me, Peter.
I really believe it. I really believe it. It's so true.
Thank you.
Content and contact.
Yes.
Content and contact. Qube, you really place a lot of importance on that. What's that all about, and why is that important in the B2B space?
Yeah, so the whole idea behind content and contact was, you know, it's the pillars by which we run our event model. So we say we have 3 pillars. So, you know, we have the content side, which is all about like, how do you gather these thought leaders and put them in, you know, on the stage or in a space or amongst this within the conference and offer them a platform where they can express themselves and deliver like the expertise in a healthy, productive space. That's what we say, like our mantra with Qube. So the content is really a driving force behind, you know, these events, because, you know, nowadays with this like inflow of, you know, information, you can pretty much find out what you want to find out without attending a conference. But the content is key because we really want people to be genuine, authentic, and share as much of their personal experiences that they have in their, you know, work lives, you know, so that's a pillar of what we do as Qube. And then the contact was to create a space that is authentic and genuine and comfortable, where people can connect and feel connected. And this is really, really important. And it's one of the aspects that I look at. So you mentioned in the beginning, like you'll see me at an event and I'll be on the stage and I'll be in the room, but what am I really doing? I'm really assessing the atmosphere of the event. What is the vibe? What are people comfortable? Is there a genuine feeling that they're able to talk to each other, able to listen and you know, hear what's you know, practitioners on the stage could be saying, you know? So the content and contact, the 2 fundamentals of what we do, is essential because you want people to feel comfortable and feel connected, but you also want to bring value through expertise, you know, and that's really what, you know, these events are about. And then obviously we want to, you know, tie that in with a nice community feeling as well, you know, so we want them to feel part of a community. We want them to be, you know, I mean, it's one thing to build your career within your company, which is a community in itself. It's another thing to showcase, be part of a community where you're, you know, within a specific space, career space. And I think that's something that I consider as well, you know. So you're the individual within a community, you're the individual within your company, but you're part of something. You're building yourselves up in a career that, you know, you're part of something. And I think that's important. I think that's very important.
I think what's interesting about that is the fact that we're always talking about people now, because it's people connecting with each other. And I think in this very digital transactional world that we live in today, I think the importance of people putting themselves out there and really showing themselves out to be who they really are as people, I think is really key. Like, what is it about the power of people and the power of connection, which I think makes a massive difference, you know, in the companies that they represent. I believe that successful organizations are successful because they have great people leading them or great people working in them. Like, you surely have seen and examined that, across. Like, what's your experience on the subject?
For sure, I 100% believe that, and I think that it's such a fine line between having good people and having a good environment for good people, And I think leadership is really important there, and that's definitely a journey that I've been on, because you can have great people, but if you're not leading them in a way that supports their greatness or supports their, let's say, their goals, then, it doesn't work out very well, So I think the fine line is about, culture, corporate culture, making sure that the culture aligns with the leadership culture. And I think this is really important, and that's definitely been a journey that we've been on in Qube, is how do we align our goals and our culture with the leadership, which, and that's something that I've been working on a lot, and it's been a slippery slope. It's been a slippery slope because, it's personal, when you run a small company, everything is personal, and you're developing people, and you're responsible for their careers, you're responsible for also understanding their talents and nurturing their talents, and their holistically as people as well, and then as the team. And I think one of the most important things I've learned is about understanding clearly your company goals and making sure that you're offering a nurturing environment, but also making sure that they have growth goals. I think when you're building teams or when you're forming teams, you should be aligned in terms of your company goals, but also as in, who do they want to be? How do they, because I always say, you don't work for Qube, you work for you. That's really something I believe in a lot. And who do you want to be? Or what are you willing to do to shape yourself? Yes, you don't have to work late. Yes, you don't have to go the extra mile. Who are you? That's always what you need to ask yourself. And that's what I leave to my team. Like, you decide, who you want to be in your careers and your lives. It's not about the company you're working on right now. It's about how important it is to shape yourself to be a valuable member of any team. And I think that's the fine line in culture, like giving them the chance to understand their, your colleagues' responsibility towards the company and to themselves,
Is it about creating space for them to grow in? Or is it about guiding them into the direction that you think they should be going into?
I think it's both. I'm
mentor.
challenged on the space, though.
You're challenged on the space.
I'm challenged on the space, meaning like I tend to navigate the teams quite closely. But I feel like it depends on which career path and what sort of teams you're leading, So in young team, which is what we're leading in Qube, and in the event space, they tend to be quite young. I feel like you need to give them the space to formulate their, careers or, their skill sets. But at the same time, you need to navigate them closely to make sure that they're aligned and they don't get distracted by, and they feel supported, So I think it's a good line. It's a combination of the two. So I am challenged with space because I do want to keep the team aligned with common goals. So I think that's sometimes,
But again, I think it's
a challenge.
I think the way you lead, it's interesting to see you in action. You part lead by example because you're really in there and working really, really hard, but working in a really nice manner. But also it's lead by motivation. You're always the biggest fan of your team. And I think that's great because you always bring your team back on stage. You always give them a lot of credit for all the work that they do. And you can tell that they feel it. They feel strong and they feel powerful just because they know that you've got their back. And I think that's a great example. It's a great case study, Lilly.
Thank you. Listen, I believe that nothing is possible without a good team. That's why today it's been a journey. Like, to build a company is to build a team, and I think it's my proudest achievement is the current team that is part of Qube right now, and how they've shaped themselves to be aligned with their roles and their goals, and how they interact at the events, and how they connect with people, and it's just so aligned with the company culture, like who the team is as a team. And we feel like a team. We act as a team. And that alignment is the greatest achievement I could have ever hoped for. And I didn't know starting out that that's what I should be striving for. I thought good product, great venues, great this, great that. But it's really just about getting a great team together with a common goal, common purpose, that are moving in the same direction. That makes a great event or a great company as well. Builds momentum. And they deserve to be on the stage in front of me, because they drive any idea, all the ideas, with full 100% trust and belief. So trust me, they definitely deserve the stage. They need to. Shout out to the team. They know it. I tell them often, but it's really just about like that alignment. That was a definite growth. As you start up building a company. I mean, Peter, you've been there.
Is it practical? Is it valuable?
Yeah.
You said that to us on the restaurant, and Chris and I were meeting you there. And that really struck me. I wrote it down there and then. I got my phone out and I wrote down, is it practical? Is it valuable? That makes so much sense. Where does that come from and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so yes, it's definitely the fundamentals, and there is a story there. Like we were working on an event for CFOs that we do, an international event, and we always discuss things and, different people. And that's the amazing thing about having the ability to interact with so many amazing people and the feedback you get and how you choose to learn. And one of the things that always stood out when you talk to CFOs was always those two gates, is it practical, is it valuable? And that just became a fundamental of the events from there. They used to sit me down on the fifth rewrite of an agenda and they'd be like, how is this practical? Is it valuable? And ever since then, I've always felt this necessity to assess a topic, an event, anything goes through those two gates. Is it practical and is it valuable? And I think that is a great way to assess what you do and give it good measure so that you actually can judge, like, is this going to bring value to the people in the room? Are they going to benefit from that? And is it practical? Is it something they can actually use in their day-to-day lives, So yes, so those are two fundamentals by which we stand on, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Peter. It's nice. It's a nice thing to share.
So what's the most practical and valuable advice you could give to anybody who's just about to set up and start their own business? So
the practical thing is to know that it's not easy. I think that looking back, I'm very grateful at the naivety that I had at this point in time when I said, let's start it up. Great, let's do it. You could do it. Great, of course, all that great stuff. Yes, because you just need that belief. But the practical side of it is that it is a challenge, and that you don't, it's a mountain in front of you. And especially if you're driven by true purpose, which I believe I was, how I felt I had value to bring to the conference space. So I wanted to do it, but I think the first advice is that, understand the challenges, because I think that makes you more prepared. And I think that is definitely a learning curve that people should consider, like truly understand, like what are you getting yourself into? And if I had to go back, I probably would have sat with people that are founders of companies and said, so what was the best part of what you did? What was your greatest challenge? What did you enjoy the most? This kind of stuff, And what was the most valuable? The most valuable is building this incredible network of people, this community, and being so fortunate to have so many friends around the world that are part of this community, and so many colleagues, friends, building something that has meaning, that is focused on value, but focused on connectivity. I think that's been the most important thing. So when we talk about what would be valuable, it's something that aligns to your core. So
that's amazing, which really brings me to the next question. You couldn't have built this up better.
Really?
So after years of building human connection through events, what pulled you into the world of mergers and acquisitions now that you've joined Hatton M&A Advisory? A big shout out to John and Damien.
Yes, John and Damien, good friends that we've met through the community. Actually, Damien started as a sponsor of our events back. First event in Malta.
There you go.
2017, he was probably the second year in Malta, 2018. But yeah, so Damien has been a friend that's also been on this journey with us with Qube. So the Hatton was a natural progression. So why Hatton? Listen, I think it comes down to the community and again, bringing values. So we have this amazing global community. And when Hatton approached me about like an M&A world, they were like, listen, you've got this great network. Like what we're doing is this. And I saw an alignment in the sense of it would be so nice for people to know that as the companies are growing, as there's different challenges faced, or maybe they're looking at growth, maybe they're looking at selling their companies, synergies, whatever the case may be, there was an opportunity through the network, through the community, to be able to say, reach out and have a trusted company or trusted persons that they could reach out to. So the Hatton became and I found it interesting because I think that the whole M&A side is part of a career journey as well and a company journey. So I'm on that journey with Qube, and I thought it'd be really interesting to hear the stories that take people up to growth or take people up to like wanting to merge, So it became something of and I've asked the guys, I've said with them, I said, tell me a good story, tell me something that's going well, tell me that, and there's so many different aspects to it that it's very educational for me. I love to learn. I'm very curious. But I also see the value for the community. It's nice to know that they have this aspect. And if there's other companies that will come into our, like circle of, opportunity, let's say, where there's a good idea around, this could bring value to the community, I'm very open to hearing it. I'm very open to supporting it. So I'm open-minded about opportunity, especially if it's going to be an opportunity for the community that we're building. I'm all in.
I mean, you must have seen so many companies grow, over the last 16 years now running Qube, or is it
10
more?
years, 10 years, almost 10 years running Qube, but okay, like 24 years in events, but 10, running to 10 next year.
I mean, you've seen companies start up and grow. Some probably fail, but some also have reached huge success. Like, what do you think is the reasons why some of those companies really make it and some of those companies really, really grow? What's that about?
I've thought about it because, lately we always come across companies that you think are doing so brilliantly, and all of a sudden, you hear like, oh, they've just been, they're not doing well anymore. And I think it's leadership, Peter. I think it's leadership. When a company has got strong leadership, and they truly are focused on growth and development, then companies thrive. Because a leader will take you through the war, Leadership that leads up front will take you through, and it is a war. The business world is a war. Every day is a battle, but you're fighting the war, right? I mean, it's competitive. It's so unpredictable, even you think you've crossed the line and then you realize you tripped just before, it's up and down, it's emotional. But if you have strong leadership that is unwavering in their focus, then you get across the line. And I think that's what I've realized it's made a successful companies, is strong leadership that is fully focused and believes in what they're doing. And it sounds dramatic, but it's true. That's my take on it. Companies that I've seen that have grown, have been successful, unwavering leadership, absolutely focused and believe in what they're doing, That's the difference.
Yeah, it's hard.
And it's not really just hard about the bottom line. The bottom line is a consequence of the focus and determination that you've shown on the battlefield.
Yeah, for sure. And you got the scars to show it.
Yeah, geez, definitely had the scars to show it.
I mean, I was looking at some statistics actually in businesses going out there for M&As. Statistically, only 30% of small businesses find a buyer.
Bloody hell.
Many to close down when their founder retires. How does the reality that shapes the way you approach acquisitions at Hatton? And is your role about rescue, foresight, or is it about something deeper than that?
I think about it as strength. I'm always focused on the positive, because every day you get the negative, right? Like when you're running a business, every day you're dealt with something that you didn't predict. You can't really predict everything. You can't predict most things. So it's not so much about rescue. It's about like, this could be an opportunity.
Yeah. Like
there could be, and I think Jonathan put some quote out a few weeks ago, and I can't even paraphrase, but it's basically about what the seller sees at that point is the value, and what the buyer feels could be not aligned or aligned. But I think that is that synergy, is when the buy and the sell, when the person buying, the person selling, that's the opportunity. So I see it as pure opportunity. That person, that company, that leadership has made a decision for growth or exit or whatever the case may be. It's opportunity. So that's how I would view it.
Yeah, and I suppose it's about leaving that legacy now behind and building something that continues to grow without you as well. I think that's a lot about strong leadership. It's about having that vision still grow when you leave as well.
Yeah, legacy is interesting, I think that's where brand comes in, because I think one of the challenges that I've faced is where people will say to me, "Oh, but Lilly, Qube is Lilly, Lilly is Qube," and I feel like that's not true anymore, because I have such a strong team that it's the team. It's that feeling of the team when you go on site. It's not the feeling of Lilly on site. It's that feeling of the team on site that makes us feel that this is a Qube event. And I think that's the growth. And legacy is tricky. Legacy is tricky because you are the leadership. So it's nice to align and say, Lilly built that, but Lilly didn't build that. The team under Lilly's leadership built that. And I think that's a challenge, because leadership is a challenge. And to keep a company healthy and safe, it's the culture that drives it. The leadership enforces the culture, and the leadership determines the culture. And we've seen that go in both ways, and I've experienced that in both ways. So I think I'm sensitive to that. I'm sensitive towards legacy as well, because I want us to focus on growth. I want us to focus on growth. Legacy is reputation. Legacy is brand. But I don't want to be stuck there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stuck there. I want the team to develop. I want the team to grow. I want the brand also to grow based on the principles by which the team leads, So does that make sense?
It does, which leads me perfectly to the question before the last. Lilly, what does success look like to you?
Success looks like alignment, whereby what we say and what we do is aligned. So what I say to my team always is, if we say we're going to do it, we're bloody going to do it, So success for me is if what we say and what we do aligns. And I'm not saying that we don't change course. We do. There's many times where I'll be like, oh, we're going to go here, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. And then I realize that, we have limitations in capability, we have limitations on different things. I'm not saying that we're not flexible. We must be flexible to change. And sometimes I'll say this to them. I'll say, guys, I did think like this, but today I think differently. I'm allowed to. I'm allowed to change my mind. Because I've said it doesn't mean it's set in stone, I've realized that was a mistake. I've realized that we should not do that.
It takes courage.
And I'll say this to them. I said, guys, I made a mistake. I think like this now. I was wrong, and this is why. And I will walk them through the why. But yes, to answer your question, success is alignment with what you say and what you do.
That's beautiful. So my last question. Lilly, if the film of your life had a song, what would be the soundtrack to your life?
Frank Sinatra, My Way.
Fantastic.
Can we end the session with that
playing? I think
playing?
we're going to have to. Lilly,
am I serious about that? Yes, I feel that, because My Way is a way that is focused on community. And I feel that everybody benefits when there's somebody that thinks about not themselves or their company, but the overall community, and is unbiased and unprejudiced and driven with value. Then I think it's good.
I like your way, Lilly. I like your way.
Thank
Lilly,
you.
it's been an absolute
that's so nice.
pleasure
Thank you for
to have
having
you on
me.
the
That was
podcast.
fun. That was interesting.
I'm
Challenging
glad you
as well,
enjoyed it.
but thank you for that.
I'm sorry about that.
No, really good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Great.